Devin Pike with the Dallas International Film Festival. Once again, an amazing block of shorts, both live action and animated. And it's always amazing for me to see people who make animated shorts, because not only are you working on developing your craft, but you're also giving a brief personal statement in and of itself. A Tangled Tale is one of the animated shorts we have here at the festival. Corrie, thank you for bringing this to us. It's a phenomenal short.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I'm curious, when you in your previous, is this your first short, or have you done previous animated shorts as well?
I've done several shorts. This is actually number 7 for me. It's sort of my first kind of big professionally mastered short. I've done a lot of student films, but this is the one that is sort of my debut as a professional animator. It's kind of like a very personal film for me, and the technique itself is quite a unique technique that I've developed. So
I do want to talk about that, because it's a very distinctive. I'm curious on the animation of it, where it's a very fluid use of sand and granular depiction of the scenes. Talk a little bit about the development of that. Is that a medium that you usually work with in your style?
Yeah, it's definitely something that is a signature of my work. And I do drawing animation as well, but sand is something that I've gravitated towards. And this is the 3rd film that I've made in sand animation. And the thing that marks my work apart from most other sand animation that has been out there is that I have a lot of color in my work. Usually when you work with sand, you work on a glass table and it's backlit, so it's all silhouette, and you get those really nice gradations of tone, but there's no way to put color in there because it's all kind of that silhouette shadowy look. But what I do is I shoot digitally, and then I'm able to go in afterwards and add backgrounds, add texture, add camera movements. So it becomes much more of a cinematic feel to it than the traditional way of working with this material.
Is working with sand something that you knew as a filmmaker that was going to be your milieu?
No, it wasn't. I was in grad school, and you take those classes where you have to try a whole bunch of different things, and that was one of the things that we had to try. And so everybody else in my class absolutely hated it because the sand gets everywhere. It's so hard to control. You're trying to draw in it, and it's just really, it doesn't do what you want. But for some reason I found it fascinating. I just love the texture. I love shaping it, and it was a very sort of meditative experience of being under the camera and having things be so immediate that there was no going back. Every frame that you make, you have to destroy it in order to make the next frame. So, you have to be totally in the moment, and you have to move forward with confidence and just kind of like hope that everything, is going to flow out of you the way that you want it to.
You have to be one of the most patient people on the face of the planet to be able to work with that and come back to it, because that's something you like and are drawn to as an artistic expression.
Yeah, people always say that, but like, I think of painters that work on one painting for months and months and months, and that would absolutely drive me crazy. Like, I can't do that at all. Like, I need to be moving on to the next drawing or frame or whatever, like just right away. So that's why animation's the perfect medium for me, is because you are always kind of thinking about what's coming next in a sequence or in a movement. And you don't get bogged down in all the tiny little details because they goes by so fast, nobody's going to see them.
You have tiny little details in every single frame that you shoot. I mean, that...
Yeah, like little tiny grains of them, right?
Exactly. Do you find that there are certain stories that you want to tell that lend themselves to the technique?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. My stories have frequently been transformations, because the sand is a fluid medium. It's a matter of one thing changing into another, or kind of that sort of narrative structure where things are kind of moving forward in that way. I think also the textural quality of the sand gives me a lot of ideas, and in particular with this film, because I'm layering like watercolor and ink and then the sand, and there's all these organic materials that I'm using my hands to create, and yet I'm taking them all into the computer and then turning them into this like digital sculpture of depth that makes this underwater world. And so I think that, like the underwater part of the whole film is something that I found really fascinating, and that worked really, really well with the sand, just because of the structure and the way the material moves.
How long does it take you to do this is the third short you've done with it. How long does it take you to get a finished product from, okay, this is, I've got my script, now we start shooting it? How long does it generally take you to get the elements animated to where you want them to go?
Yeah, well, so with this film, it's 5.5 minutes, and it was about a 2-year project. I had a couple freelance projects in between, just to earn a little money. But it was, working fairly steadily for about 2 years, doing the animation and then doing all of the post. So the post was a really big part of the process. Probably spent 6 to 8 months on post.
Again, it's a very moving piece, but also it's just when you look at the medium without having a chance to speak to you, mm-hmm. you think, well, maybe she did it in the computer, or maybe it's all vector-based Flash, but just knowing the painstaking process of putting this together, and the fact that it calms you. That's what makes me insane.
Well, the Buddhist monks do those sand mandalas, right? As part of like a meditative thing,
but they don't make
right?
one, completely destroy it, and then film it the next time around. I mean, it's...
But it's the same idea, because it's like that transience of the material, because they spend all this time creating this big, wonderful, intricate thing, and then it's about the process, because as soon as it's done, they let it blow away, or they erase it, or whatever. So I think that the physical act, and I think that this is something that a lot of animators and artists are doing now, is wanting to be touching things, wanting to be moving things, wanting to have that physicality in their work, because we've gone through the digital age of animation and of art, and so now we've kind of reached that level where we can make things look as real as possible. And so artists are like, well, what's next? And I think what's next is kind of going back to those traditional physical materials, but bringing all of that technology with us. And so that's what I try to do with my work, is to stay rooted in the organic, but also have all of the advances and assets of modern technology.
You can find out more details about the films in the animated shorts block at dallasfilm.org. Corrie, gorgeous film. I can't stress enough how floored I am of your process. I'm really pleased to meet you, and thanks for bringing this to us.
Thanks so much. It was really a pleasure speaking with you.